everyone. Welcome back to another amazing episode of 52 Authors, 52 Weeks. Today, I am joined by, and make sure you can see it, author Betty A. Hovey, whose book is titled Paving the Way: Women Overcoming Adversity in the Healthcare Field. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Lisa, thanks so much for inviting me.
Love it. And as soon as I was reading the subtitle, something hit me. In April, I attended the HCCA conference, and one of the sessions was about women leaders in compliance. And so, being in healthcare for the last 32 years, I know that oftentimes women are not sitting in the C suite. But then I was also surprised to hear that, like in compliance, you don't have lots of women that are chief compliance officers. And so I'm glad that you took this time to highlight how women have overcome adversity in healthcare, but we have such a long way to go.
I preach it, right?
Yes. So, why don't you tell our listening, viewing audience how you got started in healthcare and anything else you want to share about yourself?
All right, thanks. Well, I've been in the field for over 35 years now. So it's been many, many decades. Started out in x-ray and kind of a little too touchy-feely for me, so I kind of moved over into the back end stuff and just always, back then, decades ago, we didn't have the certifications and all the things that we have now. So I just got interested in the coding and the billing and that kind of stuff, and then just kept educating myself and pushing and applying for different things that came open and taking on projects that either people didn't want to do or they were really big, so they were trying to pull as many people in, and just always was learning. And that kind of got me into the education when I would attend seminars and things like that when they would be available, because back then we didn't have it like we have today. And then I would come back and then tell everybody else, about what I had learned. And so that really got the education kind of bug in me. And it just kept progressing and kept progressing. And then, I started my own company and, just kept moving on from there. And, I'm into the, education, compliance, of course, auditing, coding, billing, all of the revenue cycle management stuff. And, the healthcare field, I think, is so wide open for us that, you have so many options with so many different areas you can go into and look at. And so it's important just for people to find where their passion is. And there's just so much there that you can do something different probably for the rest of your career, and never get bored. So that's why I like this so much too, working with all kinds of different people and speaking at conferences and doing all that kind of stuff. So hopefully, excuse me, I impart some of that, when I'm speaking, that it's something that I just really, really enjoy.
Wow. So, I did not know that you started in X-ray. So,
Yes.
and I've heard you speak before, but I think that I've never been like in your class. So you probably maybe have given that introduction. So that's interesting to find out. I actually started as a medical assistant and
Yes. I
realized,
read that about you.
yeah, and I was like, yeah, I don't really want to do medical assisting forever. But one of the things I have learned is that, and you actually alluded to this industry has so much to offer. You can determine, how much into it you get into it. And I think over time, you kind of evolve in terms of what you are and aren't interested in doing, because that's where I'm at, in my 50s. There's things that I just don't have an interest in doing. And so I'm clear on that though.
Yeah.
Because you know how some people just do the same thing for like 50, 60 years and they're just
Yeah.
existing. And I don't want to just exist. I want to have impact.
Yes, yes. I think that's kind of too what led me into the writing venue, because I've always like written articles and stuff like that. And um, the idea for the book actually came from, I was speaking at a conference, and there were just some women that weren't being pleasant to one another. And one of my colleagues made a statement to me about, why can't women be, more supportive of each other? And it just kind of laid on me, laid on my heart. And I kept thinking about it. And I was like, I think a lot of it I hear from people, like they don't know what to do, and they don't know, like the younger people. And I'm like, well, maybe it would be a good idea, to put together a bunch of stories about women that have faced a lot of challenges and overcome things, and giving advice instead of, seeing things that maybe weren't positive from different places, or just not knowing. I don't know how to start. I don't know what to do. And so that kind of gave me the idea to get all of y'all together. And I'm so appreciative and want to thank you for being one of the people that is interviewed in the book. And just kind of put that positive vibe out there and give people some motivation and some inspiration, and, just a pathway, something to think about.
Wow. So first of all, I kind of forgot that I was in the book too. That's funny. Well, you listen, when you read as many books as I do, and
This
interview,
is true.
different authors, you kind of like you do it and then you forget. And not that it wasn't important, but so thank you for reminding me that I was one of the women. And it's interesting that you talk about women not supporting each other. At that HCCA conference that I was at, one of the speakers made a comment about once you make it to the top, you have a responsibility to send that elevator back down and bring others up. And I think that we struggle with that because we want to think that everything is about competition as opposed to collaboration. And I hear people all the
Yes.
time saying, well, doesn't such and such offer that service? You're going to offer that service too. There's enough out there for us all. And we all, just like our fingerprints, we're going to put our different spin on things. And there is someone
Yep.
out there for us. So it's not right about competition, it's about collaborating and partnering and all of us
Hmm.
being able to grow together.
Yes, yes, absolutely. There is more than enough practices, more than enough healthcare organizations. More, some people like things in different ways and make different messages, and some people have, you'll attend things, and some people are like the funny, and it's a lot of jokey things, and a lot of pictures and all that, and some people are very serious, and some, so there's somebody out there for everybody, and so for you personally, if you're looking to branch out, there's an audience there. You just have to find your tribe.
Absolutely. And I think also something that people don't understand, yes, you're going to find your tribe, but you need to be ready when you find your tribe. So you have to continue, working on your offering, your positioning, your differentiation. And
Yes.
it doesn't happen overnight. I mean, because I don't know if you remember this. Okay, I'm going to
Mm.
take you way back. So you've been an entrepreneur for a while, and
Hmm.
you were actually part of or responsible for training individuals to get their CPC when an organization was like, "Hey, you got until this date to get it done," right? And then, I know you're like, "That was like 20 years ago." Um,
It was a while
but
ago.
when you take a step back and think about the impact that you've had on healthcare, you owe it to help pull others up, and so that they can lead the charge behind you.
Yeah, I tell you, from those days, when I did instruction for the certification exams and things like that, I still will get messages and LinkedIn posts and Facebook messages and stuff from students that, were in back then. And they'll say, oh, I'm here now because of, what you did for me back then. And it just makes you feel so good. But then I also say, okay, well, thank you, and that's wonderful, but make sure you're passing that on then to the people that are below you now and looking to you for doing those things, because we need the next. We need the next ones. We need the kids to start stepping up now. I said, I'm getting kind of old, long in the tooth here. At some point, I'm going to be like, I'm just done now. So we have to have, that regeneration all the time. So always be mindful. I think people should always be mindful of that. And I try to be, I do some mentoring and things like that, so that, I continue just to try to lift up and do things. So I try to still do that as much as I can
Well,
today.
I feel like I just heard another book inside of you. I'll tell you what it is once we're finished recording. You'll have to remind me, but I
Okay.
felt like there was something that you also could write about that would be easy to do. And you probably don't remember this, but actually the first time I saw you was you had a spot over in Country Club Hills, and I actually went to take my
Hmm.
CPC there. And I took the
Hmm.
CPC primarily because I was actually teaching coding, and I did not have the credential, but I had the experience because I was literally forced into medical coding, like literally forced by the doctor when we were typing up paper HICFAs. And so that's the first time I saw you. And so I followed you for a long time. Like, remember how we used to run into each other at the AMA CPT symposium? So I've kind of
Uh-huh.
silently followed you. I realized that I am extroverted introvert. I don't mind being out,
Yes.
but once I'm in, I'm in. And then I think also some of that has had to do with some uh, friendships that I thought were friends, but weren't really friends. And so now I'm kind of just like staying in my little secret place. When I come out, and then I go back in. And
I'm with you
look,
there.
everybody knows where to
know.
find me, but I'm just not gonna be like out and about. So when you see me, you'll be like, "Hey!" So let's get into the book just a little bit. What was
Okay.
writing or compiling this book like for you? Because you had some things happen while you were in the midst of compiling this book.
I did. I had some um, uh, surgical issues and some other things I had to take care of, and so things kept getting kind of moving the goalpost. And but it was something that like, once, for me at least, once I get that idea in my head of like, I'm going to do this or I want to do this, it just, I will move heaven on earth to make sure it gets done. So it may be a little bit later than what I had originally planned, but darn it, I'm going to finish it. So it was gathering the ladies together, and that was, of course, was a feat. We ended up with I ended up with 20 just outstanding women that agreed to be interviewed for the book. And so started out with a larger number, but of course people are busy and things happen, and so it was kind of chasing around that for a while. um, but it was kind of like that, again, because it was something I really, really felt passionate about. I wanted to make sure that I got it completed. And so it was sitting first to formulate, like, what kind of questions did I want to ask. So what questions do I think I could ask these women that would be beneficial to the women that would be reading it? Because we all have stories, and we all have, like, we could fill books worth, right, just with consultant stories. But I was looking for framing the questions in a manner that it was probing to the interviewee, and it was going to help the reader in giving them some takeaways about how they can do things. And so I asked each one of y'all, like, what's the best advice you could give? So I mean, I always made sure that every person's story, there's also an extra kind of nugget in there, for the reader to take away. And I tried to pick ladies that were diverse, and have different backgrounds that work in different areas of healthcare. So it wasn't like all coders, or it wasn't all that, so I tried to make it to where no matter what you're doing, and even if you're not in healthcare, I mean, the stories I think are very empowering from people. And it's something that you can kind of use in whatever field, that you happen to be in. But, it took a lot of thoughtful thinking of how I wanted to put that together, to get that message out, so, but I think it's a beautiful, and I'm not I'm an artist in a little bit of a way, or in one way, but the book cover, the Lexi, who does my book cover, she just did a fantastic job. I tell her, like, this is my vision. And then she sends me these, like, here. And usually it just, like, I'm sure you're aware, you have all these options. Always the first one. I'm like, yeah, that was it. And she's like, yeah, I thought so too. But, I like variety. I'm like, I get it. But every time she sends them to me, it's always like, yeah, that
I
was it.
love it. I love it. And I'm glad that in spite of health challenges, but also you had some weather related issues happening in
Yeah,
Florida.
yeah, yeah. Our old
Yes,
hurricanes.
but
Yeah, yeah.
that's a
We
testament to your persistence, your resilience, and you are really not just writing about paving the way, you are demonstrating how you as a healthcare leader are paving the way for others because we're not going to be here forever.
No, no. Well, I think, well, the way I think of it, Lisa, too, is that, adversity, if you look at it that way, not as a roadblock, but as like a refining fire for you. It's like things are going to come out no matter what you do, personally, professionally, there's always going to be roadblocks. But if you look at it as fuel rather than, oh, well, then I'm done. That's just it. It's too much. Ways to try to turn confrontations into collaborations. Every obstacle that we face is just a chance to grow stronger and sharper with whatever it is that we're choosing to do.
Absolutely. So let's talk about some things that I think there's a young lady or a young man that's watching or listening to this episode that they really, really, really need to know. So, talk to us about advocating for yourself and leveraging your credentials.
Yeah, I think that's really an important factor. Like, I was honored that Victoria Vo, when I was at HealthCon in April, she actually interviewed me for her channel. And I love Victoria. She's so sweet. And one of the stories I told was about how I got this one position as I was moving around in the field trying to find my space. I was at this organization for a very short amount of time, and a management position came open, and I was like, well, what the heck? I applied for it. And the owner, was talking with me, and she said, you haven't really been here. I was like there for like 6 weeks or something. She's like, you haven't been here that long, and blah, blah. And, but she says, she ended up giving me the position. She said, because not only she's like, you have the skills I'm looking for, but she said, but you put yourself out there. And she said, that shows me your initiative and your drive. And that was important for her and the person she was looking for. If you don't advocate for yourself, there's always other people to help and support. But if you don't feel it, it's not going to happen for you. So you have to like look for things like that. If you're interested in something, go for it. There maybe there's one piece of something that they put out as a description that you don't fit yet. That's the important thing. Well, I don't have that yet, but I've talked to people before, and I said, well, why don't you apply? And then when you're talking, when that comes up, say, well, I'd be willing, as a condition of my taking that position, to say I will get that skill within 6 months or within whatever. So if there's one piece that's missing, don't look at it as, well, I'm just out then. Put it out there that I'm willing to do it, if you're going to assist me, take this chance on me. I'll get whatever that skill is that I'm lacking or that you're looking for that I don't possess yet.
Mm.
So I always kind of look at it like that. Don't wait for permission to shine. You have to put yourself out there and make sure other people will see it. It reminds me of that little, when we were in Bible school as little kids, that hide it under a bush, this little line of mine, right? So, you have to, when I first started, I have a bachelor's now, but I didn't at the beginning. And so that's where, my certifications came, and building with those and saying, well, I don't have the bachelor's degree, but I have, these 2, 3, 4, I have, I don't know, 9 of them now, something like that. It's just obscene how many I end up having. But, you can kind of leverage those. And then, like I said, say, well, if, you're looking for somebody with a bachelor's, I have an associate's, or I have these credentials, and then I'm willing to, do X, Y, and Z. But, I think it's people's ability more than it is, just their piece of paper. I'm sure you've, Lisa, I have a lot of people that I have worked with that have worked for me that are certified. And I was just like, I don't know. And then I've had a lot of people that aren't certified that I'm like, so that's just a certification. It's just a piece of paper. Believe in yourself. If you know it, then push yourself
I'm
for it.
glad that you said that, because a lot of people think, oh, you have this doctorate degree and XYZ PDQ. And I tell people all the time, sorry, I'm a menopausal woman, as you probably know.
Oh,
So I tell people all the time, the only reason that I have this doctorate degree is because I was teaching at a university full time. I asked them, how could I make more money? Because I wasn't making money like I would in industry. And they were like, oh, you got to get a second master's or a doctorate. So I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to do it. I got the master's degree because I wanted a director level position. And then once I got the position, I was like, I don't want to do this crap. But because it was like babysitting grown adults. And so I was just like,
yeah.
I did the different levels of education because there was something that I wanted, not that I wanted to be better than anybody else. I've been a leader since was 5, when I made a decision to walk home from kindergarten in Chicago. So I was
Oh,
very clear on who I was, but some organizations wanted the piece of paper. But in spite of the
yeah.
piece of paper, I am still powerful as a woman who is right there with you, paving the way for the future. But I didn't do it alone, because I had a strong network and I sought out mentors.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that is a huge, huge thing to keep in mind for people that are looking for what's their way, is to network. Like it's all great. I love being at in-person conferences, being able to see everybody. You can hug everybody. You can all chit chat and talk, and that's fabulous networking. But a lot of people can't travel, so you can just as well network through local chapters or CSAs or just whatever organizations that you're with. Even within the job, if you're in a big organization, there's people all over the country. You can do stuff that way. LinkedIn, and looking for things, and network that way and get ideas and mentorship. I don't know how many mentees I have at the moment. I think I have like 3 or 4, but I try to kind of keep that a rounding circle with mentorship. You have to find somebody. There's some of the people in the book that kind of went through and put out, like, here's all the people that have helped me, because that's one of the questions I asked was, who is a mentor, who is somebody that helped you like that, because you need somebody. You can go alone, but it's always better if you have some people behind you that have done it already, that can kind of show you the way, thus paving the way, where the name of the book came from. So yeah, I mean, it's critically important, I think, to get yourself involved. And for people that are like the introverted kind, you don't have to get involved. Like, I'm not saying you need to go present or you need to, but attend those things. If you want to turn your camera off and are doing it virtually, do that, but you can get the information. You can chat in the chat box and just kind of get conversations going with people. Posting and commenting on people's posts on LinkedIn, is another thing, where you can kind of involve yourself and you can be learning. And if you find somebody you kind of vibe with, message and see if it's somebody that's, been in the industry a while, see if they're willing to kind of chat with you and give you some pointers. But again, it kind of goes back to that advocating for yourself thing too. You have to be able to put yourself out there for it and then take it in when they're giving you that advice. But you can learn so much from us old timers.
Wait
right,
a minute.
Lisa?
Wait a minute, Betty.
From me as an old timer, and I don't mean old timer in age, I mean you've been in it
I'm
for a
still
while.
25.
Yes
Yes. You know what?
perpetually.
I told someone the other day that I started in healthcare in 92 and it's 2025 and I'm just getting started. Like, I'm literally,
Yeah.
this is the second act of being a healthcare
Yep.
professional, but from a different perspective, right? Anytime someone
Yeah.
calls me, it's like, hey, you're interested in this coding project? Oh, no, 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 I'm not. I'm sorry. I'm not, because I have a purpose that is different than coding. And it's important for me to be obedient to the assignment that I know God has me on. And so, and it's not
Yeah.
medical coding.
Yeah. I think that's another really good thing about our field. Like I was saying before, it's so diverse and there's so many different areas. It also is a field that it's not like a mandatory retirement kind of thing. I mean, you can be in your 80s and doing these things and making content and coaching, and there's so many other things and so many ways that we can stay involved if this is what, it's not a job. It really is just your career, your passion, it's something that we can do for quite a long time, as long as we keep sharpening our skills.
Absolutely. And I mean, that's why it's so important, to continue to get CEUs, continue, like, so I keep my
Yeah,
certifications up. I'm still looking at the changes every year. And
yeah,
because I do a lot of provider education, I still got to know the rules, right? Can't just like ignore the rules, because
exactly.
I need them to follow the rules. So before
Yep.
we run out of time, I think it's important
Yes.
to talk about breaking into the industry and moving up. What are some tips that you have? And you talk about this in the book. So, what are some tips that you have for that? Because even though I'm not doing coding, there are a lot of coders who listen on my YouTube channel. So I want them to get some insight from you, a veteran in the industry.
Well, thank you. Well, you kind of hit on a couple of them just a minute ago. Always keep learning, always be looking for the opportunity to get education. Look for any openings for any kind of projects that may be where you're at. And when they're saying, if you're in an organization and they have, oh, we have this department over here that's needing some help with something, there's a lot of people in the book, a lot of ladies are like, well, I was doing one thing and they said they needed help over here. So I jumped in and it led them onto a different path in the field. So if something makes itself available to you, there might be a reason for that. Jump at it. Own your strengths. Know where you shine. Know where you have that kind of insight into things. Something that you're good at, and make sure that you're fostering that and you're growing that. So that you can concentrate on bringing that out as something you can offer to either your current or your potentially next employer. finding that mentor. Networking is just, you can't say enough how important networking is. And know your worth. Like I was saying before, with that job that that position I got, because I was like, I could do that. It doesn't matter how long I've been here, I can do that. So if you have things like that, make your pitch about yourself. Invest in yourself, believe in yourself, and then, as you're doing it, I've worked in many positions, in many specialties, in many areas. And, make sure I always, that old adage of, not burning the bridges, so that, all the people that I've worked with, if I had to, and they had an opening, I probably could go back and work for them again, because you have to, treat others the way you want to be treated, lead by example, act like, you have the position you're going for, and put forth those qualities when you're working, but also give yourself time, you know, take take breaks when you need to take breaks, set boundaries. I mean, we've all had those times when it seemed like we worked 7 days a week for like a month because there was a project that just had to get done. And, we've all been there, and that happens, and it's okay for that to happen. But, you need to recharge yourself too. So take time for yourself, take time to kind of invest in yourself, whether it be for your profession or for you personally, something fun you like to do to kind of recharge your batteries. But, get involved with people, get involved with chapters, get involved with your CA and all of those kind of things, and just keep moving forward. And, look to people that inspire you, and, reach out to them. You can have maybe a new friend, that can give you some advice. Most of us that are, not you, Lisa, but me, old timers, we're happy to share experiences with people. You just have to ask us, so use all the things that are available to you.
When someone refers to me as an old timer, I feel like, because I look in the camera. Well, let me just say this. I felt young until I fell and fractured my ankle last year, and I was stuck in my
Yeah.
bedroom for those 4 months. That's when I realized, "Oh, maybe you're not 25 anymore. You're definitely in your 50s." But in all seriousness, I love everything that you said, and I think it's also important to highlight that we all have faced adversity. In the book, you share how Lady talked about some adversity that she experienced. We all experience adversity in some shape, form, or fashion. But if you build your community, and you may not talk to people but once a year, it's still your community.
Yeah.
If you build your community, if you seek mentors, and don't be discouraged if someone says that they're not available at that time. Like, a lot of times people will contact me and I'll just tell them that I'm not available at that time. And it's not that I'm being mean. I just have learned over time, I can't keep putting stuff onto my schedule. Um, I have to take some stuff off before I add on, right? Because I have to take care of me. So I can't believe it. We're out of time. Do you have some final words of wisdom for our listening, viewing audience? But then also tell everyone what the future holds for you and where they can find a copy of the book.
Well, thanks. The book is available on Amazon. I recently had another one that went up, which maybe sometime I'll come back and talk about that one, Lisa. I have, I think, 3 books up now, working on a couple more. But just I hope for everybody, if you get the book, you read the book. If it inspires you, pass it on. Let me know, get in touch with me. I always love to hear people that have read the book and what they think of it. it was so flattering to me when I was at HealthCon. I had some people come up and ask me to sign their books. So that was a different type of experience. But
That's different, isn't
you
it?
know,
You know
it
what?
is.
And I have to be honest, and I don't think I've ever shared this with anybody. And this is how I'm realizing that I may be somewhat introverted, or I don't feel like I'm a superstar, but like people, when I went to HealthCon, people were like coming up to me, taking pictures. Oh my God. And I was inside, I was like, oh my gosh, I am not a superstar. But apparently, people like, we watch your YouTube videos. So that just tells us old timers they're watching, and we have to pave the way. We have to send the elevator back
Yes.
down and pull others up,
Yes.
because when we die, we want to leave our industry in capable hands.
Yes, yes, somebody has to take it over. We can't stay forever, even though we love it. So yeah, I mean, connect with me on LinkedIn. Those kind of, yeah, I always love adding people, and I post stuff all the time. I like to put stuff out there and keep people, thinking about other things and different things and stuff like that. So I think that's like way important. And yeah, when people sometimes do the little mini gushing, over comments and say stuff, and it's kind of humbling, but it's so nice, and I appreciate all of it, and I appreciate everybody that sends me those messages, and just find your way. There's a lot of us out here to help you. You just have to ask, and you have to keep going at it.
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you so much for paving the way. And I did know that you had another book because I subscribe. So and I don't know if folks know this, so I want to call this out. On Amazon, if you have read a book by an author, a lot of times they have an author page, and you can just type in their name, find their author page, and anytime that they release something, you'll get a notification that they've released a new book. So I see that we're
Mhm.
both on the same path of dropping all these books. Mine are coming a little slower because I'm healing and growing in the process of writing the book. And so that's how I know I'm where I'm supposed to be. So
Yeah,
thank you
yeah.
so much for being here today. I wish you the best of luck in your future. I probably won't see you again until next year because I'm not coming outside to play too much.
Are you going to be at the AHIMA
It
conference?
is my plan to be there. It is absolutely my plan.
I'm.
And listen, so this episode will air probably right after AHIMA conference. So this will be my accountability partner to make sure that I'm there. Because last year was the first year I missed in like 20 years.
Oh,
So,
yeah, yeah. Well, I'm speaking.
okay. So then maybe I will see you. Well, listen, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to another amazing episode of 52 Authors, 52 Weeks. I just finished chatting with Betty Hovey, author of many books. This particular one is Paving the Way, Women Overcoming Adversity in the Healthcare Field. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and share, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.